Today we're going to cover painting grasses, water reflections, foliage. We're going to kind of cover it all, so let's do this. This photo was taken in Edisto, South Carolina on a painting trip, and I just thought it was so picturesque. I didn't want to edit out one thing, not even the phone pole. It kind of reminds me that even in this remote area, we're all still connected in one way or another. Today I'm going to be painting on Sennelier La Carte. This is one of the papers I use the most. I truly love it. If you can see here, I'm starting with the horizon, and I'm using my pinky as a guide at the bottom of the paper and slowly gliding it along so that I can have a level horizon line. Also, for those of you interested, I have a full-length, real-time tutorial of this painting on my Patreon. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can follow the link below and become a patron. But if not, that's fine. There's plenty of great information in this video too. In this painting specifically, I wanted to work from the background to the foreground because there's so much complexity in the front of the painting. So if I start with a relatively loose background, I can get tighter and tighter the closer I get to the foreground. And not only do things get less detailed into the background, but typically they get more blue or more close to the color of the sky, because in the background there's more atmosphere in between our eyes in the background, as opposed to the foreground where there's less atmosphere, so there's less blue. And technically the color of the atmosphere is basically what we see in the sky. Now I'm working up to the plane that has the barn on it, and I'm establishing the darkest darks. I do this so I can have sort of in the back of my mind a gauge on what the value range is. And because this plane is a little bit closer to us than the line of trees behind it, it's going to be a little less blue and also have a little more contrast with a bit darker darks. Here I'm setting a foundation for all the greenery. I like to add in a warmer color as the base so that when I add the green on top of it, it's not too green and oversaturated. It kind of provides balance to the green areas of the piece. At this point, I begin to experiment with the focal point, which of course is the barn. And I see what colors I can get away with, and this experimentation will help you come up with ideas that maybe you wouldn't have initially thought of. Also, if you were to break this piece up into quadrants, you'll notice that the upper left-hand quadrant that contains the barn has the most detail, and the quadrant opposite at the bottom right is going to have the least amount of detail. This is a really good way to compositionally provide balance to your painting. The secondary thing that sort of drew me to this scene, aside from the barn, is the distant sliver of water in the marsh. And the juxtaposition of that light blue with that yellow really captivated me. So I wanted to get that in sooner rather than later so I could build around it. You can see when I'm painting grass in the distance, there are no blades of grass marks. They are just horizontal lines. You're really just capturing a plane here when it's this far back in the distance. Now I'm beginning to fill in the form of the trees. I don't like to think of them as trees per se, but forms of mass so that I can focus on the tree as a holistic form rather than just a cluster of trees. Now that I have the base color for all of the greenery, I go in with the sky and I can carve into the trees using the sky as a negative shape. Of course, when you have water, you really want to mirror the color that you have in the sky onto the water, because essentially what the water is a mirror that's facing upwards towards the sky. Now that I have the sky color keyed in, because it's such a light value, I can now key the white building from that sky. And you'll notice that the white building is just a little bit lighter than the sky, which also supports the fact that it's the focal point. When I'm painting the barn, I'm really being careful as to leave spaces in front of the building for more greenery so that it gives it a nestled feel like in the photo. And also, because the building is white, I don't want to go over the white with green because it'll get muddy and messy, and it's typically always easier to lighten pastel rather than darken it. So I'm just leaving those spots free of pastel from the paper tooth so that I can capture the greenery that's in front of the barn. Even though the barn is technically white, I'm using a peach pastel so that it gives it a feel as though it's being lit by the sun. I carry that same color that I used in the barn for its reflection below it, only I am keeping the edges a lot more loose than the tight rendering of the building above it. Also being careful to leave tooth open where there's greenery. Here I'm continuing to use the negative shape of the sky to carve into the tree and create shape that way, rather than painting the sky and then proceeding to paint the tree over it, which will just create a muddy mess. I like working dark to light in general, but when I'm working with greenery, I especially stick to this sort of process. I will go in with the darkest dark first, the shadows of the tree, and then build in a darker base, and then just slowly work lighter and lighter and make those forms stand out a little bit more. I'm kind of just molding the shape of the tree, bringing out the 3D effect. And you can do this by covering less and less of the shape with each preceding lighter layer so as to make a spherical shape. So you start with a broad dark area, and then you use a little bit less surface area with a lighter color, and then a little bit less surface area with an even lighter, warmer color, and then so on and so forth until you've got sort of a highlight at one point, so that it captures the spherical nature and the bulbous nature of the trees and bushes. I also stick to the same process that I was talking about earlier regarding grass, how I don't go in with blades, and especially in the distance I go in with just horizontal shapes, and I do the same thing in the water reflection as well. So I'm just capturing a very subtle horizontal mark to depict the reflection of the grass in the water. And you can see I'm starting to use vertical marks when I'm working on the grass, but I'm working with the long, blunt edge of the pastel so as not to make individual marks yet, but working with vertical marks, even if they're thick, it starts to give that feeling of grass. Here, as I discussed earlier, I'm just bringing out more of the form of the greenery. Again, working lighter and lighter and with less and less surface area of each like mass of trees, cluster of foliage, and focusing the lightest color where the sun is hitting it. And not only am I getting lighter when I work this way, I'm also getting warmer. So the shadows of the tree are cooler, more blue, and as they come out more into the light, they get warmer and become more of an orangey green or yellow green. At this point, I'm taking more time to work the focal point and really focus on my mark making, like getting those horizontal marks to represent the clapboard. Here I'm continuing to work on the reflection of the barn and foliage, and just making sure that it is a mirror, so we need to make sure that it accurately is telling the story of what's going on above it. Once I have the water reflection down and I feel as though it's accurately depicting, well, mirroring what's going on above it, I start to go in with very subtle horizontal marks to add ripples to the water. And it's really important that when you do this, you stay true to perspective. So closer to the horizon, you're going to have very narrow marks that are closer together, and also softer. And then the more you go forward in the composition and further down the paper, the strokes can be a little bit bolder, have a little bit more movement to them, and also those ripples are farther apart. And I know I said no individual grass before, but in the foreground, it's a little different because it's sort of capturing the perspective too, that it's the foreground and that you can see the individual blades of grass. You have to really think about each individual blade that you're doing, and don't sit there and just do mark. You need to really think about variation, varying the direction, the thickness of the line. Also, you don't want them all to be one color. Some need to be a little bit darker, some need to be lighter, because, blades of grass, they're not just tubes, they're like a flat, long plane. So some will be facing the sun, some will be faced away from the sun. So that's another area where variation is important. Also, as far as mark making is concerned, when painting grasses, I always start from the base and sort of flick the pastel upwards. At this stage in the painting, when it's mostly done, I'm constantly taking a few steps back, looking at it as a whole, and seeing if anything jumps out. And if it's not what I want to jump out, I'll tone it down. If an edge is too sharp, I'll sort of buff it out. Or if the focal point, if something's falling flat, I'll draw more attention to it and give it more detail. And yeah, I'm just adding the finishing touches right now. Alrighty, this is the finished painting. If this sparks your curiosity on any of the topics that I covered, please let me know and I can do a full-length video on it. And again, if you would like to see a full-length and real-time tutorial of this painting, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. Don't forget to like if you learned something and subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you. See you in the next one.